All right, all right, all right. We'll kick this off because Chris from the 740 has his chat at 8 o'clock, so I don't want to interfere with his if we can help it. But let's do a quick roll call. I've said hi to some people. We've got Mike High, we've got CZ Shadow 2. Let's see, James Johnson. We've got Chris from the 740 on here, Guy Comet, Pistol Pete. Let's see here. I think that's it for right now, and we'll do other roll calls if anybody pops in. Hello, Pro 2A people. Indeed, indeed. And I've got kind of some neat stuff to talk about tonight. It's not actually officially all gun related, but what is the deal with Missouri Firearms Coalition sending letters several times a month asking for money? Well, hell, that's just like the NRA. I mean, I'm not even a member anymore. I canceled their shit and told them to piss off, and they still send me crap all the time. They won't call me anymore because they know better. I mean, I give to the FPC, I give to GOA, and those are about the main two that I give to. Hello, Reloading from Hot Pod. How are you? Reloading, I'm going to kind of bring up you because you posted that little short and remind me with the lifted Monte Carlo or whatever piece of shit with the 24s, 26s on it. So I wanted to bring that up also. So that's one of the things I'm going to talk about. I did, and y'all might have not seen it, but I did get the new Aimpoint P2. This is the totally enclosed emitter. So I figured I would show it on the chat before everybody else sees it. That way y'all will see it first. But this is the one I've been waiting for. And the reason being is it's totally enclosed emitter. So you've got glass on both sides. So you don't have an open emitter for snow, mud, water, ice, any of that kind of crap, to get in there. Try to show you the dot here. I think I turned it down, so let me turn it back up. See, I'll try to turn it up bright so you can see it. There it is, and it actually goes way brighter than that. So it's kind of a enclosed tube. It is bigger than the P1, just a tad bigger window, not the frame, just the window itself. But this one is rated to 50,000 hours because they did finally put the bigger battery in it. That's why I did not get the P1. So this takes 2032, the same as like your SROs and stuff like that. So it's a more standardized battery. They redid the housing. The suckers aren't cheap though. I mean, it's $600. And I am waiting for a mount for my Staccato. And UPS is supposed to be delivering it tonight or today, but they've been dragging their ass. So if you hear the doorbell and the dogs barking, that's going to be my UPS man. So, and I had to buy the new plate for the Acro because it is specific. And Staccato charged $155, but then with tax and everything, it was like $189. So $600 dot and a $200 plate, not cheap. But crazy thing about this, and I've got SROs and Trigicons, and they come in those nice little plastic cases. This is a cardboard box. I mean, it is what it is. And I don't really, I do save the boxes, the nice ones, but, and I might save this one because it's got the serial number and shit on it, but whatever. So I'm excited about trying this out. So, yeah, and Bald's bringing up the SIG. The thing about the SIG is you're putting it together yourself. This one is nitrogen purged, so it won't fog or anything on the inside, but you're having to manually put that enclosure together. And if you actually look at what they were asking for some of those SIG enclosed ones, hell, they're more than this. But so you've got to piece all that thing together. And once you make it a mailbox, you're not going to take it back apart. So I don't know why they just didn't make it a mailbox to begin with and have it nitrogen purged. It is what it is. I mean, it's probably going to work fine, but aim points are bulletproof. I've got T1s, I've got the Pro. I've got other aim points and they're awesome dots. And I have noticed this with this one right here with my, I've got 2 stigmatisms in each eye. This one actually is very clear to me. The glass is impeccable. It's actually way better than the SRO. It's way better than the RMR, way better than the Holosuns. This thing it's legit. So we'll just see how it holds up. Hell, the P1 has held up really well. It just had really shitty battery life because it had that little stupid watch battery in it. So I'm glad they finally came out with this one. But let's see here if I missed some stuff. Have you had a chance to look at the Bull Armory SAS Tactical 4.25 comp? What are your thoughts? Yes, Collie, I think it's actually really nice. I mean, the Bull Armory makes super nice guns. The thing that I personally don't like about them is their proprietary magazines. So, I've got the Staccato, I've got the MPAs. Those all take standard 2011 mags. The Bull Armory does not. If it took standard 2011 mags, I would have already had one. I've said that a long time ago, but that's the only thing with me because I love 2011s, really loving them, but I don't want to have to add another gun and another proprietary mag. I don't know why they did that, but that's kind of what's held me back from getting one. But I highly recommend them. So if you're not invested in 2011s, I just like to have a bunch of mags. And with the Bull Armory, I would have to buy, I think it comes with 2 mags, but I'd have to buy like at least 6 or 8 more. So, because Staccato mags and 2011 mags, I've got a shitload of them. So that's, I load up on mags. So I think everybody should. That's usually the first thing to fail. Hey, what's up, Ranger? How are you doing, man? Optics Planet has Romeo 2 for $5.99. Hello, Miss Hotshot. How are you? Pistol Pete. Tanfolio. Yep. Tanfo's a good gun. Yeah, and this one is a 3.2 or a 3.5 MOA. And I think that's kind of a happy medium because the neat thing about these also is they have risers for them so you can mount them on the Acro. And I don't know if y'all have seen how the Acro holds on there, but it's got a huge slot in it and then it dovetails around here and then it has a lug in the center. So there is no way you're going to shear those screws off. You would shear the whole plate off of your gun before you ever sheared the screws, like you would on an RMR. And I have seen those shear before. Big J, have you ever shot the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus? Keith, I have not. I have not shot that yet. Have not. So, and I've seen it. I've handled it. I just haven't officially shot one yet. But I mean, they're, Smith & Wessons are really good guns. And I know people personally that have them. They don't live near me, so I could shoot it. And they like it. So. Big Johnson Guns and Gear. SPS magazines I use for my Infinity work just fine in my Bull Armory, but they are for 40, not 9mm. So few issues feeding, but it works. Yeah, I mean, I want the same mags. So I don't want to have to buy any different mags or anything. There is definitely something about 2 pieces of glass. I have astigmatisms and see starbursting on a lot of dots, but not on my 509T. Yeah, and I've got the 508T, and I see a little bit of blistering. And I've personally looked through a 509T, and I've seen a little blooming too. So I guess and everybody's eyes are different, so nobody has the same eyes. But this one looks really clear, or fairly clear to me, a lot clearer. Hello, Brian. How are you doing? What I thought we would talk about, and Gene kind of sparked this when he, from the hot pot when he put up his little short of that. I don't know if it was a Monte Carlo. I mean, there's all kinds of shit that these guys buy and lift them, the whole car, lift them up, and then they put these 24s and 26s on them. They have more invested in the tires and wheels, and they're probably renting that shit from those tire rental shops. But they got more on wheels and tires and stereo than they do the whole fucking car. Excuse my language. But, squatted trucks and these lifted cars are 100% pieces of shit. That is my pet peeve. I've seen people do this shit from way back when. I've seen people slam them to the ground in lower vehicles and, of course, lift vehicles, like lifted trucks. And there's a right way and a wrong way. Anything that you do on the 24s and 26s for the Monte Carlos and LTDs and all this other shit, that car is not designed for that. They have alterations for it, but they suck. So they're pieces of shit. And then you're taking a 4-wheel drive truck or a 2-wheel drive truck and you're squatting it, which is retarded. And then It makes it drive like dog shit because your front tires and hell, half of the guys can't see over the steering wheel or over the front bumper. So it's just ridiculous. I mean, that's the most asinine shit I've ever seen. If you're going to slam it and do it right. If you're going to lift it and do it right. Just don't half-ass shit. As an ex-technician, I saw shit come in that if I would have taken pictures back then and had a YouTube channel designed for that, I'd be a super rich man because there is some ghetto shit that people do. Or they'll say, I took it to my buddy's house and we did this, and now the car won't run right or it won't steer right or whatever. And then we would be fixing the broken shit that it broke because it wasn't done correctly. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. Let's see here. Yeah, I bet you do. I mean, I saw that picture, so I know. I mean, I've seen them all around Dallas too. They're everywhere. I have a lifted Chevette and it's badass. Yeah, Brian, that's called a squatted truck. It's squatted in the rear. So they do that in a bunch of states. We have some of them here too. It's actually illegal in a lot of states, so they quit doing it because it won't pass inspection. And then also, the people can't literally, when you're turning in those things, you can't see because the front end's up so high. So, hell, you could run into a pole and not even know it till you hit it. Dropping in the rear is called squatted. So, or raking. You know, back in the old days, when they dropped a car and they drug the rear with hydraulics, they would call it raking because it would rake the ground. Yeah, Bald. Be careful when you get in that truck if it is too tall for you because when you slide your butt on the side of that seat, that's called a knee bolster. That's what it's officially called. You will wear that thing out, and they have to build up the foam and then put your seat cover back over it, and it's very expensive. So grab your oh shit handle and pull yourself up in, and then get in the truck and then put your ass in it. Don't drag your ass over that hump because you will chew that knee bolster up. DC said shot the Langdon Tactical Beretta 9mm yet. Honest Outlaw said it might be the best guns he's ever shot. I have shot. Well, I've shot the Langdon Tactical, and it is the RDO edition. I shot Humbles, and I love the gun. Don't get me wrong. I love the gun, but I hate the grip. The grip is too short for my hands. And I've said this with all Berettas, and I've owned Berettas. When I change the mags, it chews up, it'll actually chew the meat, this fat meat right here off the side of my hands. So I have to break my grip to load the mag and then re-grip it at the bottom. And it just doesn't work for me. If they had the length of a Shadow 2, it'd be perfect. It'd be money. Why would anyone want to do that to a truck? Because they're idiots. They're trying to, be cool, the cool guy club. I've always been a trendsetter, not a follower, but that's one trend I would never want to set. That's just stupid as hell. Also, I wanted to show this. I didn't want to do a whole video on it because it's not worth it. But anybody who has a Taurus TX22, the little pull down things for your mags, those just don't work good with my big meat hooks. So I went on Amazon and I found this easy, I don't know how well you can see it, easy mag loader. And it's made in the USA. It's 3D printed and it's for the TX22. You get a 2-pack of these and they only come in OD green. I wish they came in orange or something because when you throw them in your range bag, that's why I put this. And it comes with the little key ring, but I always put shoelaces on all of mine so I can find them easy. But it's got the 2 little notches in there that grab those little pull downs, and these things are awesome. So, I mean, you can just slide it down, put your ammo in it, in your mags, and it comes with 2 for like $11 on Amazon. But it's called the Easy Mag. So if y'all want them, get them. Let's see here. Hello, Lynn Holt. How are you doing, man? But on the, so I got off the squatted truck train and lifted LTDs and shit. And I had some people ask these questions, what's the craziest stuff you ever saw when you were tech? And I don't know if y'all know this, but I still am an A&P. I still have my license. That means airframe and power plant. I can work on civilian or military aircraft. Um, I did a lot of hot sections, which means actually building JT-8Ds, Pratt& and Whitneys, CFM56s, most of the planes that y'all fly on, 27s, 37s. Went to the release of the 777 at Boeing in Seattle. But I worked on airplanes for a long time too. So, but people were asking, like, what's the funniest things that I ever saw? What's the funniest things that I ever did? Or the craziest things I've ever seen? I had engines being brought in where people had never changed their oil. I mean, the truck had like 70,000 miles on it and had the original oil filter. And on the oil filter, it says OE. That means original equipment, and it's sealed from the factory. So it's got a little strap on it or a little seal on it. So when you break it, we know if the oil's been changed or not. I think it had 60 or 70,000 miles on it, but the guy just drove it hard and put it up wet and brought it in for an engine knock. So I got it in, I checked the oil. I mean, it looked like mud. Dropped the pan. When I dropped the pan, the oil was so congealed, I could actually take a screwdriver and literally stand a screwdriver in it. I took pictures of it. Of course, that was sent to Dodge, and they declined the warranty on it for, basically lack of maintenance. Because this guy was looking at a complete long block. It damaged the heads. Main bearings were shot. Cam was shot. Crank was shot. I mean, he smoked this engine, and it was just stupidity over a $50 oil change. So he ended up buying I think at that time it was like 16 grand for everything we had to do. So, change your oil. I've seen that. I've seen people, instead of adding engine oil, if it were low, they added engine coolant or transmission fluid. I've seen that too. And of course, if you add coolant to engine oil, it's basically the same as it's like blowing a head gasket. So it'll smoke like a freight train. It'll cause engine knocks. It's called what we call washing the block. You're washing all the oil off of it, and it's kind of like running a gun dry, and it'll definitely scar or damage an engine. I've seen that. I've seen where people went through high water, and a lot of people don't know this, but your differentials, your transfer case, all of them have vents. So if you have a vent tube, some of them you'll see a tube coming out of your differential. It'll go up the side of your body. So if you ever get water above that tube, it'll actually ingest it and pull it in. And I've seen, differentials, transfer cases full of water, and of course, blown differentials, blown transfer cases, and you got to put new goodies in it. So I've seen that. I've seen people try to rig shit on their own. I had a guy come in one time and yelling and throwing a fit at the service guy. So they came and got me. I went out and looked at it, and he goes, y'all just worked on this, blah, blah, blah. It was like a year ago. And anyway, his check engine light was on, his alternator light was on, said he didn't have power steering. So if any of y'all are techs out there, what does that automatically tell you? No power steering, alternator light on or battery light, and no power steering. So that tells you there's no fucking belt on the car. So anyway, I looked at it, looked down, opened the hood, and I said, you have no belt on your car. The belt broke. We all just worked on it. We pulled it up, worked on it a year ago. And at that time, they recommended a new serpentine belt, and the guy declined it. So, and I know there's people out there that just try to sell you a bunch of shit that you don't need. So be wary of it. And don't be afraid to go out there and look at it. If somebody says you need something and it's not an air filter that they're bringing into you, physically go out there. I've seen some shady ass people. They'll take WD-40 with the hose, stick it up in a strut and spray it, and it looks like your shock or your strut's dripping oil. Well, it's because they sprayed WD-40 in it to try to sell you a set of shocks or struts. So just be aware. But yeah, I mean, you can think of it. I've seen it. See if I've missed some questions. Opel station wagon. I remember those. Bagger Bro, he said, whoops, here it is. Hey, I finally found a TX22 competition. I mounted a Hollow Sun 407C. I traded my regular TX22. I'm going to take it to the range Friday. Cool, man. I think they're great guns. I really like them. A lot of fun. MP5 or Glock 34 for home defense? For me, and I'm just going to be honest with you, and I've shot plenty of MP5s. I've shot the fully automatics and the regulars. MP5s, there's not a lot of room on the handrail, depending on the length that you get. So it's really hard to mount a light on an MP5, and I would definitely want a light in my home. I mean, if you can't flip on the lights or do the little clapper, hey, lights on or whatever, I definitely would want a light on it. MP5, and out of those two, personally, I guess if I had to pick one of those, I would take a Glock 34. But I need a little more rail than an MP5 because of my arm length. But I mean, they'll both do the trick. It's whatever you choose, whatever floats your boat. Hello, Russ Dennis. How are you? Reloading saying, smash those thumbs up. It's Hot Shot. Smash those thumbs up. Yeah, appreciate that. Big J, what do you think about the Army adopting the SIG Spear in 6.8 by 51 cartridge? I mean, it is what it is. I don't really have any thoughts on it. I'm not familiar. I haven't shot that round. I've read about it, kind of watched some videos on it. I mean, it's going to be, I mean, of course, they've already ordered some of them. I understand they're probably going to be specialty units that are using them, not every single person. So I don't think 308 or completely 5.56 is going to go away for everybody. There's still going to be a demand for it, but it is what it is. I mean, I guess the proof's in the pudding. And as far as coming out for the commercial people or the civilians, and that's one thing that I see a lot of people do. If the military gets it, they think as a civilian they have to have it, and I just don't. I don't really run in that crowd personally. I just get what I want and what works for me and what I like. But I mean, I probably won't get it. I think the 8.6 is actually cooler to me. I don't know if y'all or have checked on that, but it's the 8.6 to where I could change out a 308 barrel and put an 8.6 barrel on it, use the same mag as a 308. So my Lancer, if they come out with a barrel for it, I could change it, and you can suppress 308 much better. It actually has less recoil. Not that I think a 308 has a lot of recoil. It could for some people. But it's supposed to really be devastating, and it can even reach out longer distances. But I think the 8.6 for me, it will be cooler than the 6.8. That's just my opinion. I mean, like for the civilian market, remember 224 Valkyrie is going to change the world? Yeah. That's going to be the same thing with that 30 super carry shit. There's no place for a 30 super carry. I don't care what anybody tells me. You don't need anything between a 380 and a 9mm. You just don't. It's just stupid, in my opinion. If you want a 30 super carry or you have one, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just telling you it's completely stupid from my point of view. Some of the funniest things that I've ever done, back when I was a tech and I was a master tech, I used to train apprentices for engine rebuilds and things like that. So we would always do really funny shit, and I would have to check their work and watch over their shoulder while they built engines and did all the other stuff. And of course, I would always be there at the initial startup. So when they were going to start the engine, I'd have them check all the levels, fluid levels, coolant, all that stuff, and start it up. Well, what I would do is I would take a pencil or a pen or whatever, and I would basically, do it like this to where I could rock it. I would stand at the fender. He would be in the car. I would be on the passenger side. He'd be in the driver's side. As soon as he started up, I'd start popping this pencil, wiggling it like that on the fender on the opposite side so he couldn't see it. Where I'm standing there, I would just go tick, 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 and I'd tap this pencil or pen really hard on the fender. Wouldn't damage the fender because it's wood or plastic from the pin. And it sounded like an engine tick. You could also do it just by doing this, if that's what you want to do. Oh, and have y'all ever seen this? That'll freak your mind out. Look at that. Looks like you got a rubber pencil. But anyway, I would do that on the fender well, and he would jump out, and I go, "Oh shit, we got a tick. Oh my god, this thing sounds horrible. Shut it off, shut it off." So he'd shut it off, have him come out and look at everything again, then I'd have him start it again, and I'd tick it again. Um, you're just wanting to break in new people. That's part of razzing. That's just what you do. And then when he's freaking out and he thinks he's blown a motor, then I would actually bring him over to the side and I would show him what I was doing. And everybody gets broken in that way. Matter of fact, before you even let them work on engines or transmissions or transfer cases or any of that, they do a lot of cleanup in your bay. So if you've got oil or whatever, they actually clean it up with a mop and stuff like that. Degreaser, cat litter, dry. It's basically cat litter. So it soaks up as an absorbent. But, I used to lay coolant jugs. So it'd be a whole old coolant jug and I'd fill it halfway with water. So it wasn't coolant, it was water, and I'd rinsed it out. I'd run an air hose, an air chuck through it. I would tape it around it, and then at the air hose that was farther away, I would crimp it and I'd put a pair of vice grips on it. Okay, so it's kind of like bending a water hose so water doesn't come out of it. And I would have the vice grips over on my side, and I'd say, "Hey, go over there and pick up that coolant jug." So he'd walk over to grab the coolant jug. Right when he was fixing to reach it, I'd pop those vice grips off. The air would hit that coolant bottle and it would just explode, blow water all over him. It was just water, didn't hurt him. And it was on the ground, and I always had him pinned. I had the coolant jug pinned under the lift so it wouldn't pop up and hit him. It just blew water on him. But used to do shit like that too. I got broken in that way. All of these things, everybody gets broken in that way. It's just the way it is. It's kind of like, I guess, if you're in the military, you go through a little razzing, or if you're in a fraternity, kind of go through a little razzing, but it's all in good fun. Also, when a junior tech starts out, until they build their box or they get a bunch of tools, they usually start out with a small rollaway. That's what we call it, or a roller. And all it is like a little small box. They put the tools in it. They got 2 drawers in them and just an open top. That's what a lot of them start out with. I've taken their rollaways. Now, our big boxes were actually chained to the walls because you don't want those things being stolen if it ever got broken into. But I've taken rollaways and put them up with a forklift and actually loaded them in the beams of the top of the buildings, and then put the forklift down, and then taken the forklift keys, and they'll come in and go, "Where the hell's my little push around cart?" And we'll look for it for 30 minutes. He's never going to look up at the ceiling, but once he finally looks up at the ceiling, we've got it mounted in there where it won't fall out. It's held up there. So, but just fun little shit like that. I'm looking at getting a Staccato. I'm leaning towards the P. It will just be a range gun. Do you think that will be a better fit than the C2? The C2 and the P are great guns. I carry my C2 pretty much every day. The P, and I've carried the P. It's definitely doable, especially if you get the alloy frame. Between the two, I would definitely recommend the alloy frame. If I believe correctly, I think it's 5 or 6 ounces. And ounces equals pounds, but it's 5 or 6 ounces lighter. So even if you're running on a belt rig like I do, a heavier gun can make you lean. And when I run the MPA in that belt rig, it's definitely heavier, and I notice it. I really like the P, and also wanted to stay with an alloy frame since I have the C2 and it's an alloy frame or aluminum frame versus steel. I wanted the P with an alloy frame also. So, the P is a super nice gun. I love it. And the C2 is a nice gun. It depends on what you're going to use it for. I will say this. The Staccato C2 actually shoots like a bigger gun. And you can run the 20 round mags, the 17 round mags, the, the 27 round mag. I believe it's a 170 millimeter stick. So, it'll run all of those. And it does shoot like a bigger gun. If I had to take one, I guess if I only had to take one, it would probably, God, I hate to say this, it would probably be the C2 if I had to only pick one. But, you know, it is what it is. But again, I really love the P. I carry it fine, but I'm a bigger guy. If you're a smaller guy, you would probably want the C2 if you're carrying it. First time in my life, I almost had to use my handgun in self-defense situation. I was around a son that was 31, attack his mother and assault her. Whoa. He knocked her out, or knocked out her front tooth. Oh God. Yeah, I would have tore that dude up. Yeah, and you would have been rightfully able to do so. The only thing about doing that, and I've seen some crazy stuff. I saw a guy assaulting his girlfriend one time, and I pulled up and I was like, "Hey, you need to leave her alone." And I was like, "Hey, do you want me to drop you off at the police station? What do you want to do?" And she's like, "Oh no, I'm fine." So here's what could have happened. If you would have taken that guy out, that's her baby. So then you would have probably had a civil suit on you. She would have been like, "Oh, she could flip the whole script to defend her son and look for an opportunity, and you would have been in the wrong unless it was videotaped, the whole thing." So, but yeah, that's bull crap right there. Hello, Clyde. How are you? Once I knew she was safe, I walked away, but he was thinking of attacking me as I was a witness. I was ready to drop him if he made any aggressive move towards me as a witness. I shook me. It probably saying it shook you. Yeah, I mean, you've got your adrenaline going. You don't know what's going to happen. No, I completely understand. I felt loud. Big J is the safety stand down OG. I don't know what you mean by that, but I own the Staccato C2 and carry it every day and love it. I've shot the P and it's great, but why not have the option to conceal carry something you practice with? Yeah, and I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have both, and I love both. I would say if I was going to use it as a battle gun or whatever you want to say, um, and they both work great from inside waistband, and they both work great from outside waistband on a battle belt. However, I will say the P for an outside waistband or a belt rig or something like that outside, it does work a little better just because it's a little longer. It does have a longer grip, for my bigger hands under speed. So that's all I'll say about that. But I'm fine with both. Mm. Top three handguns, 4-inch barrel or less, and $1,000 or less. Ooh. In a 100-yard shootout. Well, for one, why would you be in a 100-yard shootout with a pistol? I mean, I'd be breaking out the rifle for that. Mm. I mean, if you're asking me personally, $1,000. I mean, I really like my CZ P10C. I was trying to think. I like my FN509. Damn. I mean, honestly, and I've shot a pistol at 100 yards. I don't really get off on that thing because, I mean, if you're 100 yards away, you've got a chance to get the hell out of there or at least maybe have a rifle with you. So, man, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, if you're under $1,000, it's going to be a Polymer Wonder, I'm sure, and I've got plenty of those. So there you go. Or something used, where it's maybe even a better quality. Yeah, you can do it, but I mean, I've rang steel at 50 yards, I've rang steel at 100 yards. You just have to know your drop. And hell, sometimes even your wind, depending on the grain. If you're shooting 147s, you're going to get a little wind drag because it's a heavier bullet, so it's going to fall like a freaking rock. Or you're going to have to aim differently. But I don't know. I mean, anything with a handgun past 50, 60 yards, I've done it and I'll do it. I'm not saying I'm a pro at it, but I don't really. That's just not my gig. I know a lot of people do it, but and I've said this before. Where did it go? I've said this before. 10 millimeter is a great cartridge. It's a great cartridge. However, and I will stand behind this. Matter of fact, I even had a really experienced person agree with me, and y'all might know who he is, and that was the X Ring. The guy can shoot. A 10 millimeter, I mean, as long as you hit him the first shot, and then you have time for the sights to recover or the dot to recover, if you don't have a great grip on it, under rapid fire, you're going to see, and you could test it yourself if you got a 10 millimeter. Now if it's an all steel, heavy ass 10 millimeter, that's one thing. But if it's a polymer 10 millimeter, shoot your 9 millimeter rapid fire at a target, same distance. Then shoot your 10 millimeter at a rapid fire, same distance. You're going to see a big difference. I promise you. I promise you. So that's why I go with 9. I'm not around bears. I don't have to fuck with all that or mess with all that crap. So 9 millimeter is plenty enough for me. Now, if I were going to those areas, yes, I would plan accordingly. Let's see here. Where did it go? I think I missed one here. Oh, I guess I didn't. Yeah, I would. I mean, hell, if you really want to just be a sniper, get you the 7.5 Bruno. Then you can be a sniper at 100 yards. I mean, that thing is a freaking rifle round. So that one is legit at 100 yards. Hell, it's actually legit at 200 yards. You can hit steel with it. My times were slower in USPS or USPSA when I ran 10 millimeter. There you go. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad round. It's a great round, but every round kind of has its purpose. And it depends on the shooter. It depends on your grip. It depends on a lot of variables. I mean, I can crank down on a 10. I could crank down on a 40 caliber when the 40 caliber was the shit. I could crank down on them and I could shoot them great. But, I mean, you want to be practical and proficient with your firearm in rapid fire, slow fire. And if you watch, I don't really do bullseye shit. I have a lot of people say, "Oh, you don't shoot tight, super tight groups." Well, I'm not a bullseye shooter. Most of my shots, whether it be a 22, 9 millimeter, whatever, they're pretty damn fast. I'm not saying I'm trying to burn it down, but I try to get a really good cadence, a really good tempo, and I actually shoot better when I shoot faster. If I shoot slow now, that I told you all about the little trimmer that I have periodically. So when I shoot slower, my trimmer shows up more. But when I get that monster grip and I just start blazing it down or shooting really fast, I actually get a lot better groups. And I plan to shoot fast because if something happens and I have to pop somebody, it's not going to be one shot and then go, "Hey, are you okay?" Or "Are you going to get up?" It's not going to be that with me. I'm just letting you know. I'm not saying I'm going to unload the mag, but shit's going to be happening. There's going to be some cleanup involved. Chris Davis, hey, good evening, Big J. Paving equipment is late getting to the job, so getting to catch up on the chat. Cool, man. I appreciate you joining in. Your videos on the SIG 322 really opened my mind about the possibilities of the 22 LR being a defensive handgun, more rounds on target, more holes, more bleeding. Yeah, and I've said that. And I mean, I'll still say 22 is not as reliable in any sense, form, or fashion, more reliable than centerfire ammo. It's just not, because you're depending on rim. The other one you're hitting the center, so it's a lot more reliable. However, yes, you can unload. I mean, I don't know if y'all saw the video where I did the 100-round burn down. That was 100 rounds, pretty damn fast. I didn't shoot slow on any of those. So 100 rounds, literally, I mean, it was this big in somebody's face. So yeah, no one's going to come out of that. I'm not saying I would unload 100 rounds into somebody, but 10 or 20 rounds of 22 LR. And if you think about it, 22 LR goes all over the place. And I've seen it and heard about it. I have police officer friends where they've had to take somebody out, shot them 3 or 4 times with 9mm, and they walked away. I mean, they had to be fixed up, but you can go in and you can pick all those out. 10 or 12 rounds of 22, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a mess. I mean, they're going to be removing a chunk out of you to try to fix you. I don't think there's any fixing that. And we have a family friend who is a doctor, and he's an emergency. I mean, he's, cardiac, and that's what he does. And he has told me the damage that 22 will do. I mean, not through gel, but in a real person. And I mean, all bullets will do damage, but he's like, 22s, they're hard to recover. They break apart. There's pieces everywhere when they hit bone. So don't underestimate it. And if that's what works for you and you feel comfortable carrying it, by all means, carry it. Uh, bu- bu- bu. What's up, Range? How are you, man? I spray and pray. You shoot like that? Hold your AK like that? Let's see here. What would you think of a 90 grain 10mm round for self defense? Less kick, maybe? Yes, it would be. Well, put it this way: 90 grain plus P is a little snappy, and I've shot it. Not in a 10mm. I've actually shot it in a 9mm. 90 grain plus P. It's a little snappy, but it's definitely controllable. In a 10mm, I'm sure it's going to be controllable. In a 45, I have 230 grain rounds, and I use those HSTs for self-defense, but I also have 190 grain, and I also have 200 grain. And I will let you know, the 190 and the 200 grain in a 45 do shoot softer to me. I've had some people say they get a little more pop from it, but that's because they're not used to 45s. So it does feel a little softer for me. So definitely try it. That's the thing about this. When you're getting these guns and all this other stuff, and I probably put out a ton of videos on the 322, but when I get a gun, I test the shit out of it. If you look at the Staccato videos, when I got the Staccatos, I tested the shit out of that thing. I mean, I think I had 2,000 rounds through it pretty damn quick. With this 322, I'll just tell you all this. The TX22, I've got over 50, I got exactly, and I mark them all. So I do a little mark sheet for my book or for my guns. The TX22, I've got 1,500 rounds through it right now. The SIG P322, I've got 800 rounds through it right now. But of course, I had the TX22 longer, and my wife has shot the the TX22 quite a bit. So, Hello, Tactical Firearms. How are you doing, man? Tactical Firearms just got his first SRO, and so far he said he's liking it. Bagger Bro, what brand of trigger shoe do you put in your Staccatos? They are from Atlas, so it's for the Atlas 2011. I believe, God, what is the name of it? It's the only one they sell. It's a great trigger, and if you're going to get it for a 2011, when you order the trigger, you need to get the 2011. God dang it, what's it called? Having a brain fart. You got to get the trigger, and then you have to get. It's basically to go around your 2011 mags. If you're running on a 1911, then you get it for the thinner one. But it's the other part of it. They'll ask you the question. Just make sure you answer it correctly. But I get mine from Atlas. I really like those triggers, and I run a medium flat because I have long fingers. So some people like the small or the short. The long, I can run along, but when I put the long in there and then I try to put my finger in there with a glove, I can't really get my finger in there with a glove. So that's why I won't run longs. That's the whole issue, Big J. Reliability on the 22 LR ammo is very iffy, even if it's the best stuff. Rimfire, yeah, and you know, I mean, I've ran now when the gun is clean, um, it runs super good. But I pushed it to the limit, and I told people that I did not clean it for like, and I said 500 rounds in that video, but after I looked back at my book, I had 650 rounds through it. So I hadn't cleaned that gun. I mean, I cleaned it when I first got it and oiled it and everything. And then I shot 650 rounds through it, suppressed and non suppressed. And I don't know if y'all know a lot about suppressors, but on a 22 rimfire, it already runs dirty anyway. But when you suppress it, they say one suppressor shot equals 5 to 6 regular 22 shots. So, because it's really filthy, it's carbony. And I mean, that gun was caked with shit and it was still running. And even in that video where it failed after it was so damn dirty, I didn't do this. Uncle Dan did it, but he actually counted it. I had 28 successful rounds before failure, before that first failure, even in that video. So 28 rounds, hell, you know, that's not bad for as filthy as that gun was. This is where I would differ. Yeah, I would use a 32 before a 22 for a defensive round. I've shot 32 and I've shot 25. I'm not really impressed with either one of them. But the whole thing is a 22 for if you're really rapid firing and your gun is going to run, man, you can put a shitload of holes in somebody with a 22. And you can do it with a 9mm too. It's all about your grip. But yes, 2011 bow. It's called a bow. So you got to get the trigger and then you got to get the bow. Thank you, Mike. I had a brain fart. Uh, duh, 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 duh. Try to catch up here. Sorry about that. This thing went crazy. I guess it just hit and a bunch of, let's see here. You know, I guess we'll just, if I missed past your question, ask it again. In your opinion and experience, what is the most reliable American truck brand for all around driving and performance? Ooh. You know, like we kind of talked about before, every make has their little quirks. Um, I'll just let you know this. I'm a Dodge guy. I really like the Dodge Ram a lot. And the reason, you know, I worked on them for quite a while, and it wasn't really anything really bad. I mean, I love the Hemi. I'm a big Hemi fan. Mine is a multi-displacement, so it's got 400 and well, stock. It had 400 and I think it had 406 horsepower or something like that. But mine's not stock anymore. It's a hemispherical head. Mine is multi-displacement. What that means, it's a V8, but when it's an eco, like if I'm just driving it with this cruise control on, it'll kick down to a 6-cylinder, so it does help save fuel. With my Hemi and the horsepower, I think I haven't checked it in a long time, but the last time I dynoed it, it was like 475 to the wheel. And that's in a 4-wheel drive truck. But you know, on a long drive, not in a headwind, any of that kind of stuff, I can average 22 miles to the gallon, which is not bad. I mean, of course, it could be better, but I'm just a big Dodge fan. But like I said, they all have their little quirks, and it depends on if you grew up being a Ford guy, a Chevy guy, a Dodge guy, you know, and I've had them all. I've had Chevys, I've had Fords, I've had Dodges. I even put my old Ford, I've got videos of it. It was lowered correctly. It was all tricked out, but you know, and it was the 5.4 engine. It was a great engine, but you know, just maintaining them and really keeping up with them, you're not really going to have any problems out of it. And if you don't do a bunch of heavy towing, pull RVs with a 1500 when it should be a 2500 or a 3500. Your shit's going to last. So, and you can have a lemon with anything. So, I see why you have so many SROs, Big J. Yeah, I really like the SRO. It definitely gives you a huge field of view. Yes, Optic Planet does sell those triggers. Matter of fact, for my P, I went to Atlas. I was on a waiting list to get it. Couldn't find it because I actually wanted it in silver on this gun. The other one has gold because you can pick some of the colors too if they're in stock. And Atlas never got it. Optics Planet got one in, and so I bought it. And they actually had it in stock. I checked it before I ordered it because they've been known for just throwing something up there, order. And if you don't check estimated or if it's in stock, if you don't manually check that, you could order it and your shit, they don't even have it in stock. So always check that with Optics Planet. They're known for that shit. If you had the Rival and the CZ Orange, which would you favor and why? Well, the Rival is striker fire, and the CZ Orange is single action. So really, they're kind of two different animals. Also, the CZ Orange is steel. The Rival is polymer. I'm kind of over the polymer wonders. I'm just being honest with you. I've got too many of them. I've had them, been there, done that, got a hat and t-shirt. They bore me. And of course, I love a single action trigger over any striker fire trigger. So I would definitely take the CZ Orange. They both have mag wells. If you got the Rival special edition or whatever it's called, they're great guns. It's just the Rival, if you really look at it, and a lot of these polymer guns that are out there, whether it be M&P, Canic, Glock, of course, Glock, you can put whatever you want on it, but CZ, even P10C, P10F. I can take my P10C and my P10F, and I've done it, and I've shot it against my 509. I've shot it against all my other polymer guns. I can shoot them all about the same, unless I comp them or one has a comp and one has a dot, one doesn't have a dot. I honestly believe find a gun that you really like. If you like the Rival, stay with the Rival, put a dot on it. I put a dot on my CZ Orange because I'm a dot guy. And then again, when it comes down to it, a lot of people, and I even did a video on it, a lot of people will say CZ Orange is better than a Staccato. Well, you can only use the CZ Orange in a competition. You can't put a light on it. It has its own place where the Staccato, you can carry it. You can use it for home defense. You can put a light on it. You can do so much more with it where it's harder to do that with the Orange. Now, if you get into the Shadow 2, you can put a light on it. You can do things like that. And honestly, I'll just say this right now, and I think I've said it before. I actually like, and I own 3 Shadow 2s and 1 TSO. I actually prefer my Shadow 2s over my TSO. And my TSO has a 1.5 pound trigger. It's got an optic plate on it. It's got all that shit. But my Shadow 2s have, they're milled for optics, or 2 of them are, 2 out of the 3. But I love the Shadow 2, and it's double action, single action, but I've got the trigger pull really nice. I've got like a 5 pound double action, and I think it's like 3 pound single action, something like that. I've got videos on it. And I actually prefer the Shadow 2 over the TSO. That's just my opinion. I use wipes in my Gemtech, and that makes it worse through my 22. Yeah, and if you use wipes, you're really not supposed to as a civilian, but if you use wipes, it actually decreases the accuracy also. Wipes are really made for up close and personal, if you know what I'm talking about. Clyde is saying, in your opinion, would you bother with a MPX 16-inch carbine or just do a 16-inch 5.56? I really, really like PCCs. They definitely have their place. If you had to use it for home defense, it's gonna be a lot quieter in a home even suppressed. If you suppress a 5.56, they're freaking loud as shit. Um, you know, it really depends on what you're going to use it for. But if you're just looking for a do-it-all gun and you can only choose one of those, I would go 5.56 because of the distance that you can get out there. 16, if you're shooting a 9 millimeter, 16 inch, I mean, eventually that bullet's going to just fall out of the air. However, if it hits something up close, it's going to have some really good energy. But the 5.56 speed kills, so it's just going to punch right through it. But it just depends on what you're going to use it for. Vito is saying, I'm stuck on Holosuns 100% due to the recommendation from you, Big J. I love them, especially with the ACSS reticle. Yeah, I mean, Holosuns, and knock on wood, and I've said this before, I've taken out 2 Delta Point Pros. I only have one left. I got rid of once they fixed them, one was fixed and one was replaced. When I got those back, I sold them. I only have one pistol with the Delta Point Pro, and that's because it's milled for that, specifically for that. And that's the custom P09. If y'all have ever seen it, the orange, it's all tricked out. It's the camo one. That's why it has a Delta Point Pro on it. But now with that footprint, there's other ones that I could put on there too. But I mean, I've trashed 2 Delta Point Pros. I had to send back an SRO. They replaced it. I took out 2 SIGs. One was the Romeo Pro 1, and the other one was a regular red dot. It was the 4H or something. It was the big red dot, like you put on an AR. So I'm done with SIGs or their optics. But I've yet to replace a Holosun, yet to even have one sent in. I know Tactical Firearms had one sent in, but they got him fixed up. But it's just, and I've got, and I'm not joking around. Y'all probably know this, but I think I have now 13 Holosuns, and they're all on pistols. So, I mean, I've shot a shitload of them. I have the old ones without the drawers where you got to put the battery in the bottom. I've replaced the battery in them. And hell, what's crazy is when I took them out, they were still glowing red. But I just did it because it was way past time to do it. So, but yeah, the ACSS Vulcan is a really cool reticle. If y'all don't know, it's got the big circle that shows you how to align it if you can't find it. And then it doesn't have a dot, it has a chevron. So if you have astigmatism, that's usually really clear. It's pretty clear for me. I've got that one on my P10C, and I like it. I won't take it off. Brian Duchesne, Big J, have you tried the new Primary Arms 1x or 3x Prism optics yet? They look impressive. Yes, on my truck gun package, and you can go in and see them. It's called the Ultimate Truck Gun. I've got a video on it. It's my 300 Blackout 5.56 combo that I carry in the Lynx defense bag. They do have the 3x prisms on them from Primary Arms. Those things are freaking tanks. They're just like the Trijicon ACOGs, the mini ACOGs. As a matter of fact, and I'll just say this, they are made in the same plant that the Trijicons are made in. The glass is super clear. It is daylight bright. Highly recommend them. I do have an affiliate link if you want to use it. But I highly recommend them. Matter of fact, Donnie, I don't know if he's on here. I recommended them to him, and he just ordered one. I've got the 9mm Gemini. It's really cool. I'm putting it on my PCC, but even looking through it, and also I shoot with the prisms. I shoot both eyes open, and it does give you, of course, it pulls it, of course, brings you closer to the target with the 3x. I have not tried a 5x. I think that's where I would use a magnifier instead. And I do have the one power is that 9mm Gemini. So I highly, highly recommend them. I mean, they are freaking tanks. And now they come with all these different mounts. So you have I think 6 or 7 mounting options. So you can get low, high, 193, 2, I think you can go up to 2.9. So you can go really high. But yeah, those little suckers are tanks, and they have a lifetime warranty. But like I said, really clear glass. It's really impressive. Hang on. Pistol Pete is saying, how many rounds do you normally shoot at the range visit in one session? 22s don't count. The last time I shot 9 was, well, I shot 9 not too long ago when I took my wife to shoot the 22. And on that one, I shot 200 rounds that day. But the average that I was doing when I would go shoot, I would shoot about 400 rounds through 2 to 3 9mm. Um, so when I go, I mean, I shoot quite a bit. I've never left the range under 200 rounds, um, and I still have a bunch of it. I believe everybody should have stocked up way back when, but it's going to get harder to find. It's going to get more expensive. I know that it's starting to come down now, but I'm just like, okay, what's about to pop? Because something's got to give with all this stupid inflation crap. And, I've talked to ammo manufacturers personally, and they're like, yeah, we're having a hard time getting casings and stuff. So I don't know if this is stuff they already made and they've just got stocked up in a warehouse and they're trying to dump it out. And then after that's gone, it's going to be a nightmare. I don't know. 7.62 by 39 for home defense. Sure. I mean, if that's what you got, use it. I personally prefer 300 blackout because you have a lot more ammo grain choices, but 7.62 by 39 is no joke. So yes, definitely run it. I mean, it does damage to pigs for sure. Yeah, I caught a lot of heat. What was really funny, I'll just bring this up, but I chose to buy the Holosun 507K for my SIG P322. And a lot of people kind of lost their mind and they're like, why didn't you buy the Romeo Zero? That's what it's designed for. Blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. And I said it when that thing first came out. I actually saw it at Texas Gun Experience because they premiered it. SIG was there. I picked it up. I looked through it and I was like, and I just squeezed that thing. I squeezed that polymer. Now I know it has the aluminum shroud on it now, but I squeezed that thing and I was like, screw this thing. I want something more heavy duty. And also with the shroud on that polymer, it only weighs 0.5 ounces. Mine only weighs 1 ounce, which, yeah, it could create a little more weight. But if that thing can't handle a half an ounce, okay, whatever, but I've seen people put bigger dots. What's funny also is there's a video out where these guys put 6,000 rounds through a SIG P322 and they have the Crimson Trace dot on theirs. And I looked at the weight of that dot and it's also 1 ounce, just like my 507K. So that's not an issue. Some people were saying, oh, it failed because the dot was heavy. No. Vito saying, laugh out loud, Big J, you're my idol, man. That's awesome. I don't know what I did. Looks like Chris is fixing to kick his chat off, so we're going to shut this down in just a second. Big J, do you ever carry 45 ACP at any time, or are you just exclusively 9? No, Clyde, I still carry 45 periodically. I carried, it was what weekend? Mother's Day weekend. I carried my STI custom 45. So I did carry that. No, I do like 45, but I only carried it that one day. I've got a Gen 1 Primary Arms 3-time Prism for the 300 blackout and love it, but it's much bigger and heavier than the newer version. Hate to replace a great optic, but size and weight's important. You sold me. Yeah, I have the smaller ones, but I think now they even have them even smaller that they're coming out with if they haven't been released yet. Mine is between yours and I think the new one. Mine is the little bit bigger one. I think it's like that long. It's not the little bitty short one, but it's great. And yes, they are kind of heavy. They're like 11 ounces, but that's exactly what a Vortex. God, what is the name of that optic? My Huey, my UH1 Gen 2. It actually weighs 11 ounces also, and that's just one time. So, but all right. Well, if y'all don't have any more questions, I want to shut this down because I don't want to interfere with Chris's chat. I'm trying to be, want to take care of my peeps. Glad I caught this. Good to see you guys. Haven't been on Big J chat in ages. Thanks all. Big J, appreciate y'all. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man. Yes, we will leave it with Let's Go Brandon for sure, FJB. But I appreciate y'all so much. If y'all have any questions, comments after the chat, please leave them. I'll get back with you as soon as I can. Always a joy to do this. I was trying to have a guest on this evening, but he never replied back. So that didn't happen. But maybe he got really busy. He does travel a lot. So that's probably why that didn't happen. Maybe he'll call me later tonight. But I appreciate y'all so much. Have a great night. Go over and check out Chris 740 and check out his chat. Thanks, everyone. You'll have a great night. Carry on.